Welcome everyone to a quick breaking news announcement. Just when you want to go home and you thought you have seen everything, then bam, open source stuff happens. Greg Kroh-Hartmann here of stable Linux kernel maintenance and stuff writes here on Twitter and elsewhere. Linux kernel developers do not like being experimented on. We have enough real work TM to do. Here more on law kernel stuff. So what is that all about? That turns out, actually that first, here is that mail, and so Aditya Paki or so from the University of Minnesota, of all universities, wanted to have here something patched April here recently, as in today or so, or the other day, and it's like Greg previously was like, yeah, not gonna happen. So he's complaining, Aditya, so respectfully ask you to cease and desist from making wild accusations. Also, yeah, so this is a research or university. There, these patches were sent as a part because Greg Koha like, nah, this is garbage stuff, not applying this. And it's like, these patches were sent as part of a new static analyzer that I wrote, and its sensitivity is obviously not great. It's like, yeah, I mean, sending some random garbage in of like, hey, it's the latest and greatest security tool. It's like, yeah, maybe I should have looked closer. It's obviously random garbage, but just send patches in the hope to get feedback, not expecting Linux kernel and repeatedly making these statements, discussing obviously the wrong step, blah, blah, blah. So, and then Greg Kroh-Hartmann, you and your group have publicly admitted to sending non-buggy patches to see how the kernel community would react on them and published a paper based on that work. Now you submit a new series of obviously incorrect patches again. So what am I supposed to think of such a thing? They obviously were not created by a static analysis tool that is of any intelligence. It's like intelligence of anyway. As they are the result of totally different patterns, and all of which are obviously not even fixing anything at all. So what am I supposed to think here, other than you and your group are continuing to experiment on the Linux kernel developer sending such nonsense patches? When submitting patches created by a tool, everyone who does so submits them with wordings like found by tool XX, and you're not sure if this is correct or not, please advise, which is not what you did here at all. You were not asking for help. You were claiming that these were legitimate fixes, which you knew to be incorrect. A few minutes with anyone with a semblance of knowledge of C can see that your submissions do not do anything at all. So to think that such a tool created them, and so on. So what is the paper? Also, our community does not appreciate being experimented on and being tested by submitting known patches, that are either do nothing on purpose or introducing bugs on purpose. It's like, yeah, how did we get here? This is this amazing paper. Probably also need to collapse that side view there. On the feasibility of stealthy introducing vulnerabilities in open source software via hypocrite commits. It's like, yeah, does this university have an ethics board or something? The problem, I could go over the whole paper. I cross-read this recently. So what they basically made is they made a study of sending obvious garbage patches, even introducing new bugs, new use after free and so on. And so they have done so since forming of the open source initiative in 1998. It's like even the introduction is a little bit near. So it was the formal forming of an open source initiative, or maybe there was, but yeah, because I would say this was obviously way older than this. But anyway, GitHub was reported to have 40 million whatsoever, OSS 70 something. So prominent examples, so encourage contributions, OSS typically, thousands of independent programmers testing, fixing bugs. Prominent example, Linux kernel, 28 million lines of code, billion on devices, 22,000 contributors. Any person, company can contribute, yada yada. The maintainers then manually or employ tools to check patches, imply if they deemed valid. Other popular OSS such as FreeBSD, Firefox, OpenSSL also adopt a similar patching process because of the wide adoption, like Linux kernel has become yada yada. In this paper they instead investigate the insecurity, similar here to live on this channel, insecurity, critical perspective, feasibility of malicious committer, stealthy introducing vulnerabilities such as use after free and open source through hypocrite comments seemingly beneficial, minor commits that actually introduce other critical issues. So yeah, thanks University for making open source buggier for us, amazing university taxpayers and whatnot, well spent. It is, so yeah, if you were wondering, recurring theme here, I've done this, at least we are not sending hypocrite commits upstream. We only send legitimate fixes upstream. And if you're wondering, I recurrently read out here of reverted use after free null pointer dereference. Like, yeah, thanks University of Minnesota. You certainly deserve to be called out here for contributing to this. So they have done that. They sent that, so of limited maintenance resources, performance concerns, mainly vulnerable and has limited resources. And thanks for that, wasting limited resources of sending intentional garbage in, time and money well spent. Also vulnerabilities, conditions, use after free, and so on. Complexity, OSS can be highly awesome. Some stuff, I mean, the crazy thing is, even I find here, you're reading this, I find some wording here rather strange because neither limited resources and complexity applies to other commercial software. Maybe even more so because open source has volunteers going through there, like you and me playing along at home. Benefit other companies like Microsoft and Apple don't have. They have only their limited, even more limited resources of people they need to pay with 6-digit salaries. So I would even say stuff like iOS, macOS, Microsoft, Windows and similar stuff is of similar, if not even more complexity and has even more limited resources, although you can't as easily inject stuff. So maybe actually, although Microsoft, I heard universities can sign there's some non-disclosure research deal of having insight to Microsoft Windows code. So, but otherwise it works more like reverse engineering there, or either random probing, fuzzing, or reverse engineering, studying the disassembly and finding security vulnerabilities through that. So maybe Apple and Microsoft and stuff are not as vulnerable because people do not send patches, but pinpoint of like this behavior, this network packets, this use, this click of buttons crashes stuff or so on, so that this might not be as vulnerable if Apple has to fix it themselves. And let's just click on, where is my too many mices here of, we just started some, speaking about Apple, restart for some software updater is trying to authenticate the user, maybe, hopefully it does something. So what have they done and what is the outcome? If there at least something to learn from this unethical research, that some already compared to syphilis and other studies of the Department of Disease Control and stuff, really promising people healthcare and infecting them with stuff of Google US history. So vulnerability introduction method discover malicious canisters, introduce vulnerabilities. Let's see, the proof of concept. Yeah, proof of concept sending actually stuff there. Yeah, something yada yada. So basically this is bad actor, right? So studying bad actor of intentionally like sync NSA, FSB, and other 5 and more I's. So study here, for example, allegedly introducing method. They discovered that under the threat model, an adversary can stealthily introduce vulnerabilities in an OSS program through this, research papers, right? Repeating the same stuff in each. For example, Figure 1 shows a simple patch that balances the ref count upon an error, which is a common error handling strategy, seemingly valid because it avoids potential ref count leak. Also, yeah, C, right? C, we got this manually ref counting. Inserting put device gives up the last reference, will trigger the ref count mechanism to implicitly free bus when the ref count reaches 0. However, for this particular case, the dedicated function is also called when MDIO bus register fails, which uses bus and frees it again, leading to use after free. This introduced vulnerability is stealthy became the patch looks reasonable and involves hard test error paths and an implicit free. As a result, the vulnerability exists in the Linux kernel for 5 years. So I guess they say, introducing CVE. I guess that implies that they introduce. I didn't look this up. I'm just going through the paper, right? There's only so much. I spent already significant time of 40 minutes research of some stuff. So if you want that I spend more money, even look up the stuff and original commits and share, like, and subscribe, obviously there, and membership and Patreon and stuff. So yeah, stealth after free, potentially stealthily introduced by this university's research. So yeah, here you have it, most likely as claimed by this paper, CVE 2019-12 819, I guess, introduced by them. Thanks for that, mates. This probably deserves a face palm, right? Because, and yeah. But yeah, this is a recurring theme here of, see, we got this, right? We need to up this stuff, especially for bad actors like US universities doing this shit. And could be everyone, right? Could also be FSB. And similar to previous video of you are an IBM employee all the time and not allowed to use Gmail. Of course, the FSB, the NSA, the CIA, and who not, BND and MI, whatever, 905 or something of that sort, is not using at CIA, right, at NSA, of patch introducing backdoor for our NSA key 2. Of course, they will use John Doe at Gmail, or John Doe 1990 at 42 at gmail.com, right? Because, and obviously from some VPN and not from IP at NSA headquarters there, somewhere, Fort Meade or whatever. Figure shows an overview of vulnerabilities introduced here. Something vulnerability, whatever, something. So they have here also some study, how long, so they must have done this extensively, given from the numbers. So rejected, widely used OSS projects, Linux kernel, so unsafe programming language, also, yeah, implemented in unsafe programming languages, like see, we got this, right, recurring theme here on this channel. Linux kernel, Firefox, receiving overwhelming bug reports and patches. For example, average Linux community receives more than 400 email bug reports per day, including your garbage you sent in there intentionally. Thanks for nothing. Have limited maintenance. Also, yeah, recurring research papers, right? Repeating claim after claim, and it's like, yeah, we got this already in introduction, paragraph number 1. Limited maintenance resources, just like every other company, rejecting patches, bugs without proof of concept. Some open source projects may even refuse to accept patches without a proof of concept, which, yeah, exactly for you mates, right? Sending in random garbage. Probably not the worst thing. Although not as easy to reproduce. Imagine proof of concept for random hardware. We also had really obscure bugs, so this certainly has its limits. Linux patch guidance, also, yeah, stable tree must be obviously correct and test. It's like, yeah, obviously correct. Like, by the way, I have this one-liner, right? Like, obviously correct. See, we got this recurring theme here. Let's see. So they have here also some overview. So I guess from the numbers they have done this extensively. I'm not sure if they have included that. Accepting reports. Where was this? Something. Given this percentage, so they manually studied the collected CVE assigned vulnerabilities introduced by minor patches to identify common vulnerability conditions by differentially checking the code before and after the minor patch and referencing to the commit message, able to understand why the vulnerability was formed. Example, which vulnerability conditions were introduced. For example, common case, minor patch introduces use after free recurring theme. What I read out, at least, hey, I'm not sending garbage in, right? I only go through here every now and then, like previous videos, CVEs, and see, we got this, not, and it's like, yeah, for those unsafe languages playing along at home, 5.11.16 is out. More to this maybe at the end of this, because bi-daily security updates. With state null, dereference, nullified, use after free, without a state, commons like, yeah, 36, 34, use after free, initialized, the recurring. Hey, I don't need a university, right? You can get this stuff for free just subscribing here to this channel, right? Actually, this corner there. Recurring theme, right? Don't need to send in, obviously, bogus hypocrite commits for that. Summary of the result of their study, similar to our stuff here. Other stuff like copy event to user, minor patch introduce, initialized use in the Linux kernel, CVE 2013, variable, adding a new variable without initialize that. So for me it's not clear. So this would be really crazy if they sent this in. So I don't know if it's just randomly in the study or they also sent in this garbage. But yeah, see, we got this FA, notify event metadata, U8 reserved, and apparently minor patch introduced uninitialized use in the Linux kernel by adding a new variable without an initialized state. Also, yeah, initialized state, right? We don't want Linus Torvalds' previous video. C++ is garbage, adds nothing over C. It's like, hey, if you have a proper constructor, I'm not saying you need to use all fancy features, right? But previous video, maybe I said this before, I from my 20 years professional experience, yes, I know the Linus Torvalds and all his horde of developers hate C++ with a passion, but hey, if you would have just used some proper constructors and initializers for those class data of, hey, C instructs emulating objects or actually initializing this stuff proper. It's like, hey, I would actually take this proper initialization and other fancy syntactic sugar over CVE 2013-2148. Other stuff of minor patch introducing a nullified state to form a null pointer dereference. Again, not sure if they sent this in or this is just random coincidence. Of cleanup queue, disk queue, block, multi-queue, free tag set. Yeah, this looks suspiciously like the P3 stuff that failed previous video. So yeah, do they also lyric release of yeah, and again this put device, yeah, reference counting, right? Manually reference counting. CV totally got this 2021 and university security study later. Concurrency, dev present of locking of patch introducing concurrent use after free CVE 2019 introduced by Linux commits, like, yeah. Anyway, do they also have more of the stuff, pointer, aliases, indirect calls, large programs commonly use indirect calls to improve scalability and flexibility, and so on and so on. Do they have reading potential human research concerns, honoring maintenance effort? Like, yeah, honoring maintenance efforts, like, yeah, thanks for wasting their time and sending in random garbage. understaffed maintenance are mainly volunteers. I wouldn't, nowadays I would say a huge, I didn't do a study, but from a random under my S number, easily 70, 80, a huge portion, previous video, you are employee of IBM all the time, Google, Linux Foundation, and Netflix and who not. Unfortunately, this experiment will take certain time of maintainers, and reviewing the patches is like, yeah, gotcha, wasting their time. There you have it, even in their own study. LLVM-based tools for hypocrite commits to facilitate the construction of hypocrite commits. They developed multiple LVM-based tools. First, they wrote an LVM-based pass to identify dereferencing pointers. So yeah, they maybe even automated the shit. Sounds at least like that from me reading this stuff. Apply two selective rules to report candidate cases. Memory object may have been potential memory leak or ref count leak and an error pass. Second, they wrote another LVM pass to identify fread, but non-fread, but non-fread, not fread, fread, darn it. Non-nullified pointers that they may potentially introduce further to reduce false positives. They also applied multiple selective rules, yada yada, of selective vulnerability. It's like, yeah, finally the LVM pass reported, yeah, automated 4,657 cases of, yeah, I wonder how much they sent in. So yeah, this is crazy, right? Spending efforts, even freaking automated tools, hundreds of, I don't even know how many. So yeah, Greg, KH, you are freaking banned for wasting time, and also, yeah, putting people at risk, right? I wonder how many security this is really crazy, right? Not even wasting the time, but putting users' machines playing along at home, university networks, big mega corporations, Fortune 500, putting your tax dollar, research, university money spent on putting people at risk, potentially remote code execution, at least certainly denial out of service. Crazy stuff, man. 2021. I thought I've seen everything, but yeah, universities, US, not Chinese, not Russian, US freaking universities, wasting time and introducing bugs. Memory leak, ref count bugs, automated here, the shit out of it. Hey, at least we only automate the data who updates our Linux distribution live on this channel, right? Previous video. Measuring the quantifications, I think we're getting to an end of that. Freed pointer without notification, use after free temporal order. Measuring the stealthiness, there you have it. They have empirically discussed several methods for increasing the stealthiness of hypocrite commands. Like, yeah, they even put freaking efforts in increasing the stealthiness. So, by the way, amazing research paper for the FSB, aka artist previously known as KGB, CIA and NSA and stuff, of getting them ideas of introducing vulnerabilities if this secret services needed more ideas how to stealthy commit stuff. And catch rate. So apparently, this is from vulnerabilities caught by maintainers during the time period. I guess it is probably from shit they sent in, I guess. Hypocrite commits with concurrent issues are the hardest to catch. No shit, Sherlock, concurrent issues are the hardest to catch. And thanks again for wasting all their time for sending this shit upstream. Note that even when an introduced vulnerability patch is caught and blocked, the malicious committer can just try different ones, like wasting even more of their time. Concurrent issue catch rate only 19.4%. So the only thing, the only good thing, if there's a good thing to take away from this unethical research, is we need to do better potentially if, like, we only apply this shit if you can prove it, only with a proof of concept example, a test suite, also other things to take away, test suite the heck out of it, And yeah, of course, 100% coverage is illusional, especially with hardware drivers. It's like, yeah, you need virtualization, emulation, or real hardware, and automate testing or other automated tools of. The problem is frameworks, library stuff, easier to test because you can better automate this. Hardware driver stuff, of course, least automatable due to the nature of hardware stuff of, yeah, booting this hardware, potentially wiring up test hardware, and there's of course a limit of fancy IBM or other, even consumer hardware of hundreds of network adapters and stuff, which is a recurring theme I called so often for. It would be so much more amazing if there would be standards, think NE 2000 in modern stuff, like implementing VirtIO stuff in hardware, for example, to have one hardware or similar standards like USB and stuff, because yeah, this is 100 different NIC, network interface card drivers, and other such storage stuff. Only wastes maintenance time, it makes testing harder, and so on and so on. So yeah, implicit release. So yeah, the catch rate is not even 50%, so much to human. Also yeah, C, a recurring theme here, C, we got this, not, and similar such, where's even my phone. So yeah, C, we got this, not. We need to do better, of course, better languages than C, but even C++ wouldn't help with all of this, unfortunately, and potentially not even Rust, because previous video, even Rust has CVEs, due to logic bugs that are out of scope of the Rust language or other unsafe stuff and so on. And yeah, implicit release, use after free and error passes. Nothing actually indirect. Funny, why do they have here indirect call 5 of 9? Why is this not %? This is a little bit, yeah, why? But anyway, because this would actually be, I saw it on first glance, nothing has more than 50%, but this would be obviously 50 whatever %, yeah. What else do they have there? Advanced static analysis techniques, liability by the nature, something free, submit patches without liability. Also, yeah, this is funny. Like, basically, it's like, yeah, maybe waiving a little bit their liability because by nature OSS openly encourages contributions and committees or can freely submit patches without liability. It's like, yeah, hey, we sent some shit upstream, breaking potentially stuff and risking servers, infrastructure, and wasting people's time and money, and potentially even causing harm in a Tesla space record. And wouldn't it be funny if your SpaceX or Tesla crashes due to their random shit they sent in? So yeah, like waiving us, like we sent in random shit, but no liability because they're open source. Thank you very much. Verifying whatever, something. What else do they have? The maintenance side, something, public patch auditing. I think we've summarized findings, something reports on trying, whatever. Maintenance and security related, as this is related work, something. Conclusion, this paper presents hypocrite commits which can be abused to stealthily introduce vulnerabilities to OSS. 3 fundamental research. Maintenance, complexity, systematically characterized, vulnerability study, malicious committer, vulnerability in real ones, something. Acknowledgements, they would like to thank the Linux maintainers to wasting their freaking time for reviewing their random and intentional, not random, actually reviewing their intentionally harmful and malicious patches, and helpful suggestions of, yeah, this unethical research was supported in part by the NSF Awards, CNS 1815-621 and CNS 1931-28. Any opinions, findings, something on this material, so necessarily. Anyway, so yeah, crazy stuff, man. I have, with this kind of stuff, I can basically make live streams forever. Even like, yeah, 2031 probably Hypocrite malicious, hypocrite commit sent to Redux OS and not caught by the Rust language. Crazy stuff, man. I would certainly also select, yeah, here you freaking F off there. I will not apply freaking, even like blacklist your freaking email, because yeah, time spent is like, yeah. So comments there, we have quite some comments. Let's try to go faster through them. I think I learned here we have comments. And many people watching more than usual. Actually, yeah, 2021, our low-level tech channel has more views on security vulnerabilities than on freaking Apple products. No surprise there, but it had to be done also. Android, so yeah, I somehow need to go faster. So wait, so patch that looks good, but intentionally buggy. Yes, exactly. Kind of. So what kind are those? Yeah, university there. Alphabet letters people are involved in vectoring. Alphabet letters people. What do you think? How many patches this is how many patches they got into the kernel. 88 by Anditya Paki, 103 by Kangelu, 41, right, who cares, 41 by Quishi Wu, and 28. So this is in total way over 200. Let's quickly summarize this. So 100, 191, 92, 232, so over 258 patches or something of practicing my so yeah, thanks for that numbers. They claim they were going to inform the maintainers, didn't reject the patches, something about. See, I think this must be probably multi-years ongoing effort, which is certainly rather near. Something about seeing was. Wait a second, we can before people tune out. 5.11.16 is out. Previous video, I just wanted to release each day. What else did we have? We had LVM, what else do we had Linux kernel, what else GCC updates, like, yeah, always one more thing, but yeah, we are new to T2. If you're new to this channel, I run with previously Rock Linux and now T2 Linux distribution for over 20 years, so supporting everything from Alpha to Motorola 68K, theoretically at least. Some people tested this on the Amiga, I don't have one, but we have a lot of other stuff, Sun, UltraSpark, SGI Octane, and this stuff is freaking still working here. And of course, latest and greatest x86 still running on a 486, and latest and greatest AMD 64. So new, latest and greatest and vast ISO release ever. If you're into a keep it stupid, just vanilla raw Linux source distribution, that might be something for you. And recurring theme, I pointed this out before. Who thought BPF just-in-time compiler stuff in the kernel would be a good thing after previous CVE of eBPF in Linux kernel just-in-time compiling? Who thought this is a good idea of, yeah, more of sanitize, improve, verify, rework, pointer limit of, yeah, and move register into, yeah, recurring theme just in time. So latest and greatest invention in monolithic single address space kernels, like, yeah, let's just in time code generate stuff there. What could possibly go wrong? Mix, sign, bounce, all, and stuff. Let's see, bounce, oh, no mix, sign, bounce of all types, and correct, oh, a lot of BPF. Yeah, this, I said it before, not a good idea. And fix out of bounds in flow table, IPv6 net, and free of use after reverts, like, yeah, hey, IA64 tools. Anyway, comments. I read the comments and then we call it a day, because no longer we can't make this live stream so long discussing your comments, although they're highly appreciated. Who cares? Git short. Yeah, thanks for that. Good Git command there. Agents are crippling Linux security with their governance backdoors. Agree, but did not any actually get did any actually get through? Yeah. A lot of this stuff got through. Cheers. Like social engineering, very valid even if those submitters have been in court. No, I know again why I do want a microkernel. Yeah, writes PD47. I don't doubt, pretty sure more patches slipped through since Greg GKH Greg Hartman mentions that some patches have to be reverted. And the scary thing is, someone mentioned in some of the emails here, I saw there somewhere, I should have kept a note, that some patches actually fixed something, right? So the scary thing is they sent in malicious patches and maybe 1, 2, 3 or a handful of them even actually fixed the freaking thing, right? So complexity, reference counting, manually doing everything in freaking C, like freeing memory and ref counting and initializing. So complex malicious patches, even 5 or so, or maybe, don't quote me on that, but maybe 5 out of 258 or what it was, actually might have even fixed freaking, but this is of course not an excuse. Even if 5 of 258 patches fix something, it's of course no excuse for this unethical research. Patches something, you can of course read the chat history, just wanna see if we find there's something else, Bowman, in their law against this kind of hacking. Yeah, at least it should maybe violating ethical research, university stuff. And common interests, NSA, CIA, SOC, puppeting research at universities, all illegal to initially implement. Yeah, so Miko writes, isn't it really illegal to intentionally implement vulnerabilities? Yeah, that is a good thing. There are probably, this might be illegal in some countries and states to intentionally cause bugs in products and stuff and services. Let's see, we have Andreas. So crazy thing is one of the highest concurrent viewer counts ever. So thank you very much for sharing, like, and subscribing all the 2 years of random low-level stuff here. Some fruits I probably need to turn a little bit more to focusing on a proper AAA video here. I said this before, the live streams are more triple. With this video I can make in, hey, under 40 minutes. And if I compile this more, edit slides and edit this, and it's like 3 hours, in case you're wondering why I try to build this channel with more random stuff, because this is, I'm overdoing my time. I have actually, it's already weekends and after work and stuff here, or stressing everything already beyond reasonable limits, actually, for trying to make a dent here, which I hope you appreciate, and share, like, and subscribe. So Andreas writes, the least they can now is provide the list of commits. Although, yeah, list of commits probably git short log what is it, UIN something of, yeah, git short log stuff of umn education, I guess. Although they're probably also Wu 0000273. What addresses are this? No, but, anyway, something of that sort. True, but if such action somebody else can exploit the code, then yes. So, but also lesson learned, we need to review stuff even more. By the way, my GCC patch, I'm a little bit, did my SCSI patch, was my SCSI patch approved? Maybe, but my GCC patch to G5 and cell previous video took me also probably an hour to compile and stuff. Although it was it took an hour because GCC initialization code and macro stuff was like, probably took easily an hour. I need to ping the GCC people for the G5 and cell optimization thing. And I probably also need to send a patch for the Seagate smart control filtering for Seagate attached USB products for the Linux kernel. But lesson learned is we all need to, be even more careful, review stuff more. Don't take university addresses for granted. It's also like, you think, hey, university does it, right? It must be some good thing. They probably freaking thought about this and stand there with their good name and university study. But so you thought of intentionally malicious commits there. We get more and more concurrent viewers, which is amazing. I'm seriously thrilled of. This is probably one of the highest concurrent viewer counts on this channel since the PS3 and SG Octane work, which previous live streams. All the patches were ripped out. Git, it is not that hard. Yeah, that is true. One of the better things with Git. Forget about patches like Big Criminal. Let's see, why is more need open source? This is why we need more open source and not closed source. Yeah, I wanted to make another video about this already sometime soon. I shouldn't talk about this now because then this stream gets too long, and the longer the videos are, the less people watch it, which would be a shame in this case. And I think this teaches use open or closed don't matter. This teaches use open or closed don't matter. Eyeballs matter, the quality of them, funding matters, you can't audit the code and the programming, Miko writes, and the programming language C. This is a big problem. I had this before, previous live streams. As much as, Linus Torvalds hates C++, I think the state of open source would be much better as much as people hate it. Sure, Rust is the new latest and greatest, but I said this before, as much as a lot of C people hate this, C++ has, of course, serious improvements, and of course you can't use all of them in a kernel context and shouldn't, and there are concerns and implementation details, but string handling, templates for engineers, and other ref counting stuff, there is so much that can be done and was done in other kernels, and as much as Linus Torvalds might hate it, even lightweight C++ could have avoided lots of string handling or even array, vector, linked lists, so much nice stuff to do nicer, and could, of course, not STL as it, but of course the ship has sailed. We are now moving on to Rust and other stuff, but it also, my recurring theme, right? I'm not saying this since, I'm saying this already since 15 years and since a couple of years on YouTube. See, we got this not, we need to do better, and there is no 100,000 eyes with ongoing changes. Even good changes, right, can at times cause bugs. Even stuff Linus Torvalds writes and stuff, no human is perfect, and the safer the language, the better for the security and stability. Andrin Aurelian writes, open source does not equal to it will be reviewed, like, including my good patches not even reviewed, because YOLO, who cares about PowerPC? Just a quick search of use after free found a decade later to see. It's like, this is what I recurrently called out here already of fixed panic with running BPF in, what is it even? Whatever, something recurring theme. You probably want to share, like, and subscribe for this recurring theme here. So one day have to be true. AI probing, not anymore. All those companies due diligence. Undoing rights for them OSS. For them OSS does not equal more security by default anymore. I mean, given our recurring breaking news shout out here. macOS and Windows are of course also with their bugs. Even the complexity, right? The stuff USB is super complex, PCIe is super complex, the hardware is super complex. Think about this monstrous logic gate construct that are graphic cards. I have also some commentary coming up for that in a future video if I don't forget. And stuff is super complex, right? Then writing subsystems, frameworks like graphic subsystem, like 3D and maintenance, like buffer allocation and queue submission and DMA buffer wrappers and helpers and stuff. Super complex stuff, then multiple submission queues and stuff. And sure, it's getting complex fast, and the hardware is getting more complex to its day, maybe even more complex than I would like or would recommend. And even in Windows, right? People complain, updates break shit, gaming, non-constant FPS, new stutters, or Windows updates break simple things, even break Outlook and stuff. You're wondering, yeah, but this is also, yeah, commercial. Maybe Apple is better at that, but the crazy thing is even at Apple shit breaks, and that is Apple has limited hardware for only their blessed Snowflake hardware ecosystem. And even Apple breaks stuff with random. Actually, speaking of, I'm actually wanted checking if the latest update, hey, the latest update of macOS still didn't brick the, you are up to date, macOS Big Sur 11.2.3 on the DTK, that Apple still didn't pick up here, previous video. So, still booted. And what is crazy, in my opinion, is, and yeah, still running some Apple shit, right? We are running everything. We don't love everything, but we also freaking run Windows, because we sometimes have to, for not for AAA production, but for our Windows software, right? Because somehow need to make money between all the open source and video goodness. And okay, at Windows stuff breaks, super complex. Everyone has some random PC hardware garbage of yesteryear. But at Apple, it is even less inexcusable, because they have so little of, well, also so many hardware variations, Intel, this and that, and NVIDIA, and non-maintained NVIDIA, because Apple not touching that binary blobs anymore for the most part. But even at Apple, with all this hardwares and iOS and Apple TV and so on, enough complexity, just this a dozen of hardware combinations and drivers, even their stuff breaks randomly, and that is even more inexcusable, especially for Apple saying we are the amazing AAA and the best company, and even they break the stuff is even like my hashtag peak bugs, so many UI flickering, and even the disk utility doesn't work reliably. And even my Retina MacBook Pro, they never fixed. Every second time my Retina MacBook Pro, 6-year-old stuff, Intel NVIDIA stuff, doesn't freaking freezes on wake up in the Intel or NVIDIA driver. I forgot one of those kernel KX with the 4K MST display that I have since 6 years. They never freaking fixed that. Sure, it's not the Apple display, but there's also a limit of what expensive garbage I can buy, and so much too, or yeah, other disk utility and other, even the Finder. I have even freaking mouse cursor bugs on, like, yeah. And this is, in Apple's case, much more inexcusable in my opinion, because they have such a limited hardware ecosystem that it freaking should work, but even there it doesn't, which is, yeah. Anyway, hashtag peak bugs, right? Because, and so yeah, this concludes this live stream, which has probably a record concurrent viewers, which is amazing. I hope you all learned something, which is the intent of this channel, to learn something, playing along at home, low level in hardware, and also previous videos for those who are new. Look at instructions and architectures from rendition, Verity, hardware, GPU stuff, to ARM, PowerPC, Spark, and RISC-V, and even more stuff, and more to come. That's probably it. Again, as usual, way too long with all the discussion taking on. One last look there. See how BSD's example accepts and authorizes changes. No wonder why they are at 7% market share. CIA, NSH, AMS can get in. Michael Bravo wish BSD was supported more. Viewers are serious about it. Wonder if, and now this chat jumps, some unknown person stuff deleted. Now the chat jumped majorly. Oh wow, so many more chat, wow. I probably have to get better at, oh wow, so much more stuff. The article doesn't even really identify infrastructure. Pretty useless, almost PF sense, Wireshark disaster. Yeah, previous, thanks for that, Andreas. I shouted that out, the free BSD, not Wireshark, you mean WireGuard, I guess. WireGuard. Previous breaking news video. Remember that, but the amount of those compared root access bugs in Linux kernel, night and day. I would say the BSDs are only better. They have probably way less, even less resources and way less commercial backing. I think so. From my experience, the BSDs are only in better standing because they have recurring opinion here. The Linux kernel developers change too much, random changes, random refactoring of API here, some argument there, some renaming there, and this is why in some areas the Linux kernel code is a little bit more modern, as modern C can be, on the price of more new bugs of random. Even a year later, you cannot even clearly apply SGA, often even one major kernel version, and you can't clearly not apply architecture patches like SGA Octane, PS3. Yes, up and done there, but still, and it just proves the point, right? Random changes, and yeah, maybe I should put more. Yeah, you want to share like membership and Patreon for spending more efforts of getting more of this stuff upstream. Hardened kernel, time to make a hardened kernel project which uses minimal code. Yeah, this is actually what I want to do with my microkernel stuff, which I really should get more going. Building layers. If you are into this kind of thing, you probably want to share, like, and subscribe to this channel. Hardened kernel, just use Gentoo, right? Yeah, or Gentoo or spoiler T2, right? But yeah, as you see, using Gentoo and T2 is not the solution, because all distributions get all the intentionally malicious hypocrite commits here, so that is not really a solution to everything, but certainly I welcome everyone to use our free rolling release source distribution stuff. And many levels which CPU wanted to do something major regards. QWERTY, gotcha, Intel ME, Ryzen, AMD, Cortex CPU inside, using moderately old kind of articles for best with working tight organization. Oh, cool. Michael Bravo hopes Risk 5 takes off. Yeah, I have this unmatched board on pre-order. I hope it arrives in June. This will be fun to look at. Now we live stream already properly, 55 minutes as usual. If we look in the comments, and the live streams always get double in length. Google's Fuchsias will be privacy focus of Google Fuchsia So it's good that Google is doing. Also needs review. Greg and Dark writes Haiku, Redux.os. Yeah, also we need also, this is monoculture, right? I said this before a long time, probably a year or two ago. Not only did Linux did Linux kill OS innovation, and did I look at Haiku, Redux.os previous video, if you're new to this channel, some year ago. And monoculture, right? Even if Linux market share would be 90% monoculture, similar to forest, and devastating effects on the environment, as bad like sink fires and floods and stuff. Same for OS. If everyone runs Linux and there are bad actors or other bugs, then the whole infrastructure collapses with just one big denial of service and remote code execution. So even if Microsoft and Apple market share would be like 10% and open source market share would be like 80%, we still need diversity. Redux OS, Heiko, BSD, Linux, exactly for that, to foster universal interoperability and not having one attack surface of, imagine Linux market share 90% and then the weekly or monthly CVE of something rules the world, like one CVE to rule the world, certainly also not helpful. So yeah, that's probably it. As usual, the comments go on and on, which is amazing. So yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you learned something. Highest concurrent view count probably ever. That is certainly encouraging. I hope you learned something. And as usual, probably read the sources there. And I hope to see you soon for all the next videos, live streams, and commentary to come.